Actualizar la información sobre un atentado ocurrido en Turquía en las últimas horas. Un ataque perpetrado contra personas que celebraban la llegada del Año Nuevo. Un acto cruel y a sangre fría. Así describió el gobernador de Estambul, Basim Şahin, el ataque con arma de fuego en un centro nocturno de esta ciudad turca. En un comunicado, el gobernador confirmó que hay 35 muertos y casi 40 heridos. Repito la información, 35 muertos y casi 40 heridos como resultado de este ataque a mano armada. Describió el ataque ocurrido a la 1:15 de la mañana del domingo como un atentado terrorista. Y según Şahin, el atacante primero disparó contra un oficial de la policía que cuidaba la puerta de entrada al centro nocturno llamado Reina, donde se celebraba la llegada del Año Nuevo. Las primeras imágenes que nos llegan, estas imágenes que usted está viendo y que vienen de nuestra cadena afiliada CNN Turk, son imágenes que muestran múltiples vehículos de servicios de emergencia, por supuesto muchas ambulancias, pero también hay patrullas y otros. Ahora, el Club Reina es un exclusivo centro nocturno ubicado en el sector de Beşiktaş. Esta es una zona muy conocida para el turismo internacional. Es el primer ataque terrorista del 2017 en Turquía, un país que se ha visto sacudido por una serie de ataques terroristas en los últimos 12 meses. Y hace apenas 2 semanas estábamos hablando de un ataque terrorista contra las fuerzas del gobierno. 13 soldados muertos y 55 personas heridas cuando se produjeron atentados con dinamita también en Turquía, en un ataque que era claramente dirigido contra las fuerzas del gobierno. Eso fue, como decía, el 17 de diciembre, es decir, hace exactamente 2 semanas que ocurrió esto. Hubo arrestos, 15 personas fueron arrestadas en ese momento, pero se desconoce si hay algún tipo de nexo, algún tipo de conexión con el ataque de este 1 de enero en Estambul, Turquía. También podemos hablar, y fue una de las noticias de las desgracias más grandes de 2016, el ataque al aeropuerto de Estambul que dejó 36 personas muertas y 147 heridas. Esto fue durante el mes de julio. Fue un ataque en el que no solamente se utilizaron explosivos, sino también que hubo armas de fuego. Estamos hablando de que en estos momentos Turquía enfrenta una serie de enemigos, el gobierno central de Turquía, el gobierno del presidente Recep Tayyip Erdogan, como el partido PKK de los trabajadores, también el autoproclamado Estado Islámico ISIS tiene una presencia muy importante en Turquía, entonces está siendo atacado por varios flancos. Pero recapitulando la información de esta noche, o mejor dicho, la madrugada del 1 de enero, la hora de Turquía, a la 1:15 de la madrugada, un ataque contra un centro nocturno en Estambul deja por lo menos 35 personas muertas y 40 heridas. Yo soy Rafael Romo, reportando en vivo y en directo desde el Centro Mundial de Noticias de CNN en Atlanta. Más información más adelante en nuestra edición nocturna de Mirador Mundial. Ahora regresamos con nuestra programación habitual.
We want to update you on our top story, another attack in Istanbul, Turkey. This time, an upscale nightclub in a busy neighborhood was the target, and this happened during New Year's Eve celebrations, shortly after 1 a.m. local time. The Istanbul governor says 35 people were killed and 40 others are wounded. He is calling the incident a terror attack. There's no word yet on the identity or whereabouts of the attacker or attackers, plural. There may have been more than one gunman, we're not sure yet. Turkey has suffered a string of attacks recently carried out by ISIS and by Kurdish militants. There has been no claim of responsibility for this one yet. Now, the city was on high alert given this security context. Let's go back to CNN's Ian Lee, live from Istanbul. Ian, first of all, has there been any further movement where you are? You're at the site of the attack since we last spoke.
Well, just about an hour ago, the area behind me can show you. There's police officers there right now, but just about an hour ago, there was dozens of ambulances that were here. There was a heavy police presence, heavier than there is right now. That has been thinning out. We've been seeing ambulances go. These, we're told, ferrying people who are injured, but also ferrying the bodies as away. But what we know right now is that, according to government officials, a gunman with an automatic weapon opened fired on the outside of the nightclub, the Rena nightclub, killing a police officer, hitting another security personnel. That's when then they moved inside. 35 people killed, at least 40 people injured. Speaking to someone who says they were in the nightclub when this happened, a French national, saying that they heard a loud noise, then they heard someone say, get out, get out. They fled. But right now, the main concern for the police officers, or what we're hearing, we do not know what the status of this gunman or gunmen is, where they were killed, where they were captured, or they're still on the run.
What kind of part of town is this in? Is this the kind of place that you figure might be targeted for terrorists who want to make a big splash? You know, as there are multiple landmarks, for instance, in Western European cities. Is this an equivalent in Istanbul?
Yeah, this is a very popular area to go out in. This was a high-end nightclub. Just to my left, we have the Bosphorus, although there's some construction here that blocks a view. We have the Bosphorus Bridge. This is a high-end area where people were going out to celebrate, to ring in the new year, a popular part of town. And there had been a very heavy security presence in Istanbul before this. We've seen police with checkpoints where they're searching people, searching bags. We had our bag searched. We were searched as well. And so this was a city that was preparing for tonight's festivities. There was a police officer, we are told, outside this nightclub providing security. And also, I don't think you can see it now, but right next to this club is also, very close, is a police station as well. So this is an area where it's also popular. There is a heavy police presence as well.
Ian, that's very striking to see that this took place just meters away from a police station.
That's right, and the witnesses who told us that the police were able to arrive very quickly, and so that it leads us to the second question, which we haven't been able to get an answer to, is what is the status of the gunmen or gunmen? And there for a while, we did see quite a few police cars go screaming off in another direction. Presumably, even if they were able to get this person, they're going to be looking for who possibly helped them and what organization, if there was an organization behind this. In the past, there have been two main organizations who've been carrying out attacks in Turkey, one being ISIS, the other being the Kurdish militants, the PKK. Right now, no one has claimed responsibility for this attack.
A CNN correspondent in Istanbul, Turkey, Ian Lee, reporting live. Thank you very much. We'll, of course, continue to come back to you in the coming hours. Do let us know if you've got more information. Thanks a lot. Joining me now over the phone is former CIA operative Bob Baer. He's a CNN intelligence and security analyst. Bob, it looks like 2017 in Turkey is going to be just as bloody as 2016 has been.
I think it will. I maintain good contacts with the Turks, and they are worried about the violence. They're worried about the violence coming across the border from Syria. They're worried about the United States arming the Kurds in Syria, and they're worried about the Islamic State. This attack, from the initial report, sounds like the Islamic State commando-style raid. If they knew there was security at the front door, police and other security, they employ tactics they picked up in Syria, and that's speed, surprise, and overwhelming force, and which makes a club like this, if you come in shooting anybody who moves, it's very difficult to, unless you actually put a whole company of police outside, which a city like Istanbul is just not possible. And the Turks, this won't come as a surprise to them, this attack. The question is, how do you stop the violence coming across the border from Syria?
And Bob, that was going to be precisely my question. Is there any action that Turkey can take to stem the flow of attacks?
Frankly, it's the weapons and the explosives coming across that's the problem. I've crossed that border, the Turkish border, and it's quite indefensible. No matter how efficient the army is, the fact is you've got so many smuggling routes, either from Syria or from Iraq, coming across the border. The Turks, this is why they've just concluded a deal with Syria, Iran, and Russia, is to put an end to this civil war as quickly as possible, because they will suffer the consequences. We have to remember this war in Syria Turkey had nothing to do with starting it, or nor the rest of the violence in the Middle East. So they are really suffering the brunt of this, and we've talked about on CNN before that the longer this violence goes on, the wider it will spread.
So, in your view, the deal that Turkey has just struck is they also did that with an eye to stemming the violence on their own territory?
Yes. What they want to do is, one, they want to slow down the flow of refugees. They simply can't have the Russians and the Syrian army going, and Hezbollah as well, Lebanese Hezbollah, going into Idlib province and driving tens of thousands of more people across the border. So essentially what the Turks want to do is, in exchange for leaving Bashar al-Assad in power, is to provide some sort of no-fly zone, so that there will be areas of Syria that will not be bombed, either by the Syrians or the Russians. It's a hard plan to implement, because the Turks don't have control over all the Syrian groups, so a ceasefire, as it's been described by the Russians, is very fragile at this point, but this is their best hope.
All right, CNN intelligence and security analyst Robert Baer, thank you very much for joining us here on CNN. And thank you for continuing to watch our coverage. We're going to continue right after this, after the break.